So he got this rope. Now, don't ask me where he got the rope from. And
Boy, you are wearing me out.
man, all this mud reminds me of my friend Keith. Yeah, he was going to build a shack once to live in and all. And I know most people here, they build houses and they become shacks. But Keith, he was about jumping right to the shack stage. But he had no wood. So he got some mud and was making what we were all thinking was going to be these adobe bricks, like when the people out west made bricks and shit. Well, he had mud and...
We ain't got time for this, Ellis.
I ain't ever been in a sugarcane field before. I mean, I seen them and all, but no real reason to go into one. But now you go into a peach grove, you find all sorts of cool shit. This one time, I was in a... Do you know what suck the heads means? Because I came down here with Keith once, and he didn't know. And... I mean, it ain't nothing bad. It's about eating. I ever tell you about the time Keith and I made fireworks? Now, I didn't know shit about chemistry, but Keith figured gasoline burns, doesn't it? Third-degree burns on 95% of his body. Man, people in the next city over were called to complain about the smell of burning skin. I ever tell you about the time Keith tried to deep-fry turkey? Third-degree burns over 90% of his body. His doctor called up, like other doctors, to look at him because they'd never seen burns on top of existing burns. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drove his car off a cliff, broke both his legs? Hey, it's not a funny ha-ha story so much as it's a make-you-think story. For instance, windshields look pretty durable, right? Yeah, not the case according to Keith. Son of a bitch flew right through that sucker. My buddy Keith lived in a graveyard once for a whole year. It wasn't a dare or nothing. He just got kicked out of his house. He said he never saw a single ghost except this one time when a ghost stabbed him from behind and took all his money. And he might have just been a homeless guy because he had a robe on with 2 eyes cut out his face. My buddy Keith tried camping out on top of a building once. He was shooting crows, but the police were too busy tear gassing him to ask what he was doing up there. He screamed for an entire year every single time he opened his eyes. Oh, man. At first it was funny. Then it just got sad, but then it got funny again. Oh, man. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith got rolled by a gator in a swamp? Man, he didn't agonize it or nothing. We were just trying to grab 2 so we could piss him off and get him into a fight. Well, anyway, the third time Keith went under, I realized something was wrong. So I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drowned in the Tunnel of Love? You wouldn't think it could happen because the water's so shallow, but that's how it gets you, man. Overconfidence. Keith was with his lady at the time, and he was yelling for her to save him, but she didn't want to get wet. I ever tell you about the time me and Keith snuck a paintball guns on a roller coaster? I never heard of anybody else doing it, so I thought we might have invented a sport. So Keith called the patent office. But I ever tell you about the time me and Keith made homemade bumper car ride with ride motors in his backyard? Mower blade wounds over 90% of his body. I didn't run him over either. He somehow managed to fall under his own. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith fell out the roller coaster? Yeah, he didn't drop forward, mind you, just onto the tracks, but the carnival people wouldn't stop the ride because all the other people paid good money and Keith snuck on for free, so he had to dodge for like 20 minutes or so. One time, the Army bombed my buddy Keith. He went camping and didn't bother to read the signs, and I guess they were just testing bombs that day. All sorts of stuff, too, not just regular bombs, like biological nerve gas bombs, shrapnel bombs, these bombs that break up into the air to like 100 smaller bombs. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith fell down an open manhole? He was unconscious down there for like a week. During that time, unbeknownst to Keith, they paved over him. Keith had to... I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith and I were on the top of a burning building and we had to fight our way down like 5 floors of zombies? Wait a second. I guess that was you guys. Oh, shit, man. I can't wait to tell Keith about that one. I ever tell you about the time me and Keith filled up water balloons with our own...
Oh, sweetie, can this wait? Not the best time?
Okay.